Hi guys, welcome back to Scratch Skills. In today's video, we're going to be checking out Unit 1 of AP CSA, that is using objects and methods. So let's start. An algorithm is a step-by-step set of instructions used to complete a task or solve a problem. It's not just coding, you use it in your everyday life like bedtime routines and many things like that. Another thing that comes under algorithm is sequencing. That is where order matters. The line-by-line method of code is in order, so coding is sequencing. For example, over here I have two print statements that prints order to order, even though I have step 1 written over here. Since this line is about that one prints first. Next, there are code, IDEs, compilers, and executions. Where I just coded is an IDE, an integrated development environment. This is where you write your code and run your code. Other IDEs include BlueJ, VS Code, so and so. An IDE helps you find your errors, write code, compile the code, and many more things. A compiler is what checks your code for errors. It translates your code into computer language, and it tells you if you have any syntax errors. For example, over here, if I forget a semicolon, which is a very common error for Java, it's gonna give me a syntax error saying that it expects a colon, so I'm gonna add the colon. Or if I forget the code for the string inside the print bracket, it's gonna give me an error saying that that has an error, unclosed string. So I will close it and it should work. So the compiler catches your errors. If your code runs successfully like it's doing over here, that means you had a successful execution. Going on, there are three main types of errors. The first one is syntax errors. The two that we just saw were syntax errors, where we missed the semicolon, or if you miss a code, or if you use the wrong data type, and these are caught by the compiler. The next type is logical errors, and this happens often in FRQs for AP CSA, and this is basically when we don't know how the logic of the prompt or code works. It's something that we made an error in while coding, but the code is not necessarily wrong, it's just our thinking. The next type is runtime error, and that's when a program crashes after it starts running. So it starts running for a bit and then it crashes. Exception is caused by something unexpected and interrupts the normal flow of the program. For an example, I can show you how this works over here. There's gonna be 5 divided by 0. And that should throw me an exception error saying that it cannot be divided by 0 because it's undefined. And that is exactly what happened, an exception by 0. Okay, let's keep moving. These are some notes that I took. So this is just like a gist of what you should know. We're gonna get into, like, when we get more into coding, you will learn to analyze all these, and you might get MCQ questions saying what is syntax, like what type of error is this program gonna execute. Okay, keep moving. Printing is what I've been doing over here. It's basically System.out.print for a new line and System.out.print for just on the same line. So ln inserts the new line after the input code. So over here, since I have ln over here, it adds a space and then goes to the next line. Over here, since I don't have it over here, it just prints on the same line. Next, data types. Data types are one of the most important things in Java. There are 3 main primitive data types that you need to know for CSA. Int, which are whole numbers, doubles, which are decimals, booleans, which are true or false. Now there is one more type that we know, but it's not a primitive, it's a reference type, and it's a string that we use to store alphabets and anything in quotes in. Let me show you the data types over here. Now notice how we make data types. We say the type, the name, set it equal to, and then we use the value, right? So the type, string is a type 2, and then the name of our variable, and then what we're gonna put it in as. We can add how many ever. Decimals we want to booleans to doubles, and then we can make the boolean false or true. Age can be anything, negative, and yeah, string can contain anything too. It can contain numbers, anything inside quotes is a string. So over here, I am gonna print GPA, and over here, I'm gonna print name to show you that it actually runs without any errors. Okay, now that we got our output, it works. And that's for data types. Keep it going. We have a special type of printing. So if I wanted to print double quotes, because I'm already using double quotes to like print anything as a string, I just need to use a slash quote. So that's gonna give me a quotations in between hi over here, and then a backslash would be double slashes, and for a new line it's going to be /n. So if you're going to try decoding this by ourselves, like I said right now, it's going to come out like with quotations, and we have a new line right after this function over here. Next thing is arithmetics. Arithmetic is so important for CSA. Many MCQ questions come based on arithmetic, so like you need to know how it actually works. So let me show you by making two numbers equal to 5. I've made two integers, and I'm going to System.out.println 1 x plus y. If I run this, I should get, oh, like I said, a very common error is missing semicolons. Please don't forget, but we're gonna get the sum. And then if I do the modulo, which is giving us the reminder, it should be 1 because 5 goes twice and has the reminder of 1. And if I'm gonna divide it, I can also add it by a few numbers at the same time because all of these are integers, and it's gonna be giving me the right answer. Now, if I change one of these into a double, then my answer is also gonna be a double. So make sure you keep that in mind. If there's a single double in our equation, the answer is gonna be double 2. Next, we have practice. So since you learned how to make variables, just try this program, pause the screen, read it, and try it. I hope you try because I'm going to be showing the answer now. Now, this is the answer, but make sure I only wanted you to make sure you had done this part. So you had the string name, int age, string, int, double boolean. So this was the main part. This one is just like printing, and then concatenation. It's basically where you add your variables to strings. Really easy. We will be going through that in a minute. Okay, next we have scanners. Scanner is just a tool that lets the program read what a user types. So it's basically I type something from my keyboard and not like actually have to type it over here. I can get X's value from my output location. I can type it in and it stores it in a variable and gives it out. So for the first, one of the most important thing is importing java.util.scanner. That is a library. That is a program from the Java library. So it's a very compulsory, make sure you know it. It's java.util.scanner with the capital S. After that, we have the object line. Now this line is very common. If this is your first time seeing it, don't worry, this is almost everywhere. It's basically how we get an object, how we have an object in it, and scanner is an object. So it has scanner input equals new scanner and then system.in. For now, you just need to memorize it, but with practice, it's going to come naturally to you. And then the next line, this prints a message on the screen. The next line, it takes the number from the user and stores it in num, and for the next line, it prints out what we had. So I have that code over here, and I'm gonna run it. So when I run this over here, you will see it's asking me to type an integer in, so I'm gonna type an integer, double, and my name, let me just put in, and it's gonna give me that. Now, what if I type something else? Say I type 2.5. It's gonna give me an exception error. Okay, so now notice how for each one, for next int, next double, and next line. So for strings, I use next line, double I use next double, and int I use next int. And after checking the next double, I have this line over here. This basically happens because if I did not have this line, I'll show you what happens. So I type in 23 and then 4.0, and then it goes enter name below. It doesn't let me type next to the colon, which I don't want. So this line over here that we had, it basically clears the leftover new line after the next int or double. So each time you use either of that and you want to use next line first, just write input dot next line if you want your code to like stay neater. Right? Let's keep it going. This is just what I was talking about, int double next line. Next we have casting. It is treating doubles into integers and integers into doubles. So if in a case where we're turning a double into an integer, it just takes off any value that was behind it. For example, have it written over here. So say 3.7 was a number and then I wanted to take it into an int, then I would just simply write that and it's going to give me 3.7, 3 point nothing, because it just took everything out. And if I even had 3.99999, and over here my double was how much ever bigger, when I click run, it's gonna give me 3 and just that number with the 0 behind it. Next is rounding, and rounding is basically we can either round to a positive number or round to a negative number, basically rounding up or down. So if I want to round up, I'm going to take the variable name and then add it with 0.5 and keep an int. And if I want to round it to below, I would add a negative sign and subtract it by 0.5. So say I had 4.6 over here, it should give me 4, yes, and over here it's giving me a 5. So we know it works. Next, we have range and overflow. This is just something you should know. We get all of these informations in the Java reference type that you get during the test, but I'm just letting you know because this is a part of the Unit 1 chapter. So int has a limit. It doesn't go to a billion or anything. This is the number. This is the limit to where int can go to. You cannot write anything more than that. It's gonna crash. Next, we have compound shortcuts. Now this is a small trick that we can do. It's basically where x plus equals 3 is x equals x plus 3. X minus equals 2 is x minus itself minus 2. So this is just something you can keep in mind. You might see it in FRQ, MCQ, so just make sure you know that. And then this is post increment or decrement, where we mostly do this in for loops and things like that. Next are comments, something I've been using this whole program. This is how you comment anything out. Anything I write over here is notes for me. Okay. And then if I want to comment out big parts, then I'd use this symbol. And this is how I would close it. Anything inside this for multiple lines. Next, we need to understand that Java is a code object-oriented programming language. That means it uses classes and objects. Mind you, Unit 3 is all about this, so this is just a base. This is how a usual class would look like. It will have attributes, variables, it will have a constructor with the same name as the class, which both should be in caps, and it will have the attributes over here as parameters, and it would set values to them. And then there would be a method that does something when it's called on. This is just really a basic of gist of what it is. Now to create a dog object from the class, I would write this line, which was similar to the scanner. Remember how it was? The dog1 equals new dog, and then the parameters. So basically object name is equal to new object parameters. example over here that I've done is in class dog. Over here I have the instant variables, which are my attributes, and I have the public, this is my constructor, public dog string, and it just gives them values. And my first method is bark, and it's gonna bark when it's called on. It's a dot notation, so I would write dog1 dot bark brackets. Method signatures is basically how you call a method, and it's a method is a code that only runs when it's called on. Next, this is how you write a method: modifier, return type, method name, and then we have the code and then a return value, but that's too complicated. Let me simplify it. Modifier is public static. The return type can be either any of the data types that we learned, strings or void. It doesn't return anything, but we can print. Here's a really simple example. Public static is the modifier, int is the type, name, parameters, what it does, and it returns the result. It returns an int. Method overloading is when we have two methods with the same name, different parameters, like this. Add is the same name, and then we have different parameters, int and double, or we could have the same parameters and different names. So I could have one called add and one called sum with both int a and int b. Just so you know how that works, I have made a small code over here where I called dog1, new dog, and it actually works. So if we go through the code, like trace the code out, we will be able to identify how this works. So when we're saying bark, it says woof. Doggy buddy says woof, Max says woof. So over here we have name says woof. Okay, next thing is math class, and math class is you get almost all of these on your reference sheet, so it's really not that heavy. It's basically math.absx gives you the absolute value, so the positive value. Math POW gives a rise to the power of b. 3 gives you the square root, and 4 gives you a random number. Now this is kind of important. To generate a random number, we need to have int math.random and then max minus min plus 1. So you need to calculate that. So 9 minus 0 plus 1 would be 10, plus the minimum, which would be 0. So that's how you would write it, but then since it goes to 0 anyway, over here I would just write 10, and then over here 1 to 10 is gonna be like this. And I actually have an example over here for you. So int.random, math.random, 10 minus 1 plus 1 to 11. Now if I wanted to go to 15, I write the maximum over there. And when this run, it's gonna give me a random number from 1 to 15, 14. Over here is the other things that we just talked about. I'm just gonna run it once more to show you that it actually is random. And this time we got 12. So make sure you understand that. And then we have strings. Like the math class, string has a few things that we can do to it too, like string concatenation that I was talking at the start. Quotations plus there would just give us hi there. If there's two strings, we can also bring a string from the constructor, like string b equals new string hello. We saw this pattern 3 times now in this video. It's really common. And strings are immutable. You cannot change strings. So once you make a string and I call the string hi, then I cannot change the string. I would need to make a new string, string 2. String methods include the length. It just gives you the length of whatever word you did. Substring gives you the word substring from the start to end, and it does not include the end. So over here for hello, I did 1 to 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just going to give me 1, 2, 3. Mind you, it starts at 0. If you guys don't know that, indexing starts at 0. Next, we have index of. This is going to give us index of n. So the first n was found at 0, 1, 2. So it's going to give me 2. And say I had a q over here, it's just going to give me -1 because it wasn't found. Equals to checks if two strings are exactly the same. So hi dot equals hi is true. And capital letter high dot equals high is false because it's case sensitive. Now mind you, I'm flying through these because you get all of these in a Java reference sheet that you can use, so don't worry about it too much. Comparative compares the strings alphabetically. Now this is a bit confusing because just thinking about the alphabets in your mind, A comes before B and C comes before D. So it's anything that comes before, it's a negative value, and anything that comes after is a positive value. And since C and C are the same over here, the value is going to be 0. Dog and dog is negative because this one has a lesser letters. So this one, when we're analyzing over here from 3 to 4, we understand that this is lesser, so it's negative. A is lesser than B, so it's negative. Z is greater than A, so it's positive. And this was the Java quick reference sheet I was talking about. So you get the len, substring, index of, equals, compare to, and explanations of what they do. We have the min and max values over here, and then we have all the math class values too. And there's more to it that we will be covering soon. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked the help. I hope you guys liked the video. I hope it helped, and see you next time. Bye.